United States of America is the oldest democratic republic in the world today. And that didn't happen by accident. There's a lot of reasons for that. Over the course of the 241 years that we've existed, there are two big reasons in particular. One is the creation of the Declaration of Independence, which happened in 1776. The Declaration of Independence was a unique document in world history in that it was founded on the principles of liberty and equality. But it was the first time that a people declared themselves independent from another country based on the concepts of liberty and equality. And probably just as important as those two facts is that they said that those unalienable rights, as they called them, came from God. And the second revolutionary or first of its kind or unique document at that time was the United States Constitution. The United States Constitution is unique because it's the first permanent constitution of its kind. And secondly, it was voted on by democratically elected people, not noblemen who had been appointed by the king or who had appointed themselves, but people that had been elected by the people. And they're the ones that ratified the Constitution. There's the ones that said, this is what we want to govern us. And that was unique in American history, or world history for that matter, up till that time. And yet the document we created to govern us, the United States Constitution, sanctioned slavery. And of course, that's a huge inconsistency with the promise of the Declaration of Independence. But over the course of the next 89 years, we fought a number of wars, but by far the most significant was the American Civil War. And one of the issues that settled was slavery. And finally, in December 1865, we fulfilled the promise of the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal by ratifying the 13th Amendment to that Constitution, which abolished slavery. So finally, 89 years after we made the proclamation, we fulfilled the promise. And the other issue we had to settle, which was of equal importance in terms of survival of the country, was the issue of could a state secede from the Union? Could they quit and go home? Could they drop out of the compact? And what the Civil War did was two remarkably important things. It got rid of slavery, settled that question forever. Got a question that had been riling this country since the first Europeans got here. And it got rid of the question or settled the question of secession. If you came to the Union, you weren't getting out. And what that led directly to is two things. One, a more equal, freer, fairer society. But secondly, a unified country. A country that became the number one economy in the world like it is today, the most important military power in the world as it is today, the freest country in the world as it is today, and the number one destination for every oppressed people in the world today.
The Declaration of Independence, a seminal document not only in American history but in world history, was signed in the building behind me. In 1776, that building was known as the Pennsylvania State House. Now we know it as Independence Hall. The Declaration of Independence is shrouded in myth. Most Americans conceive the Declaration of Independence from a painting that hangs in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda by John Trumbull showing all the signers of the Declaration of Independence assembled for one grand signing event. But there was nothing further from the truth. That painting actually reflects June 28, 1776, when the Committee of Five that drafted the document presented the document to the President of the Continental Congress, John Hancock. The story of the Declaration of Independence really begins in Boston in December 1773 with the Boston Tea Party. After the Boston Tea Party, Parliament, with the King's consent, closed the port of Boston and disbanded the Massachusetts Colonial Assembly. Colonists up and down the Atlantic seaboard were outraged, fearing what happened to Boston could happen to them. And so, in 1775, the Second Continental Congress gathered here in Philadelphia initially to redress the grievances they had with Great Britain and to resolve the problems that had evolved between Great Britain and the colonies. But in April 1775, hostilities broke out at Lexington and Concord. And by the time we get to summer of 1776, a full-blown war is raging between England and her colonies. In June 1776, delegate from Virginia, Richard Henry Lee, arrives here in Philadelphia with a resolution passed by the Virginia House of Burgesses. The resolution, known as the Lee Resolution, declares that these colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent of Great Britain. With the Lee Resolution in hand, Congress appoints a committee of 5 to draft the Declaration of Independence. That task falls to Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. Thomas Jefferson would draft the bulk of the document, basing his philosophy on that of 17th century philosopher John Locke, using the social contract as an argument for breaking away from Great Britain. Once the Committee of 5 present the document to John Hancock, it is ready to be signed on June 28, 1776. That's the scene that is in John Trumbull's famous painting. After the Declaration was adopted, it was then sent out to be engraved. The document that Americans see when they visit the National Archives in Washington, D.C., in the rotunda of that building, will find the Declaration of Independence as the centerpiece of the Charters of Freedom. Adjoining it are the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. 87 years after the Declaration of Independence is signed and the United States breaks away from Great Britain, Abraham Lincoln, in his own stirring address at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, will reassert the vow that we are having a new birth of freedom. Lincoln believes wholeheartedly in the Declaration and that everything in America stems from the Declaration. To Lincoln, the Declaration supersedes the Constitution. During American history, various people grab on to Jefferson's stirring words and make it their own. They take his phrase to heart, and every movement of social justice in the United States finds itself rooted in the chamber behind me in this building in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.